What's up, nerds? Harbinger here with another Let's Play Java edition, special edition today, the MLG edition. We're going to do some graphics and classes. So here's your meme for the day. Have no idea why my code works. There's a evil twin in that one. I have no idea why my code doesn't work. I've definitely been on both sides of that before. In terms of dankness, I would give this one like a 6 out of 10. In terms of good meme rating, I would give this one like an 8 out of 10. So, love the meme, and may or may not go on the meme wall at some point. So, for today's graphic stuff, I'm going to use openprocessing.org. And on all the computers in the lab, we've got processing, so that's cool to use too. If you've got processing on your computer at home, word up, it's a free download. And if you don't want to download stuff, openprocessing.org, same exact thing, online. Make an account, good stuff. So you've seen some of my processing work before. I'm going to make a brand new sketch today and show people how that works. So I'm going to use processing.js. I don't want to use p5.js. Seems cool and all, thanks but no. And I'm going to delete everything. So I just Control A, delete, whatever. So processing, it's got a couple parts to it. It's got a setup. And that's kind of like a public static void main string args. It kind of just sets the stage so everything can get rolling. And it's got a couple components. So you got to declare a size in the beginning. And I'm going to make this one like 600 pixels by 400. And I definitely need a background color. And I hope you're good at RGB because it takes in 3 arguments. And I don't want a whole lot of red. And I don't want a whole lot of G. But I'll take a whole lot of blue. So it's going to be like a dark blue color. And let's see, I'm going to need a frame rate. And this is how many times it refreshes per second. So maybe it needs like 8 frames per second or something like that. I could change it. I could make it faster if I want, right? I could increase the number. I could decrease the number. And I know people initially go, oh man, I want to see how fast it moves. Let's do like 8,000 frames a second. It won't refresh that fast. You know, there is a limit, and there's a limit to your eyeball anyway. So at some point, you're not really going to notice. So there's the setup, right? It's got an initial size, and it's got a background color, and it's got a frame rate. And I want some other things too, and I'll talk about why in a second. I don't want outlines on my shapes, so I type in no stroke. And if you're ever curious, you could always Google processing API or processing reference, and it'll tell you where to find these commands. It's not like I just pull them out of the air. I just know them because I've been doing them for a while. But I'm really good friends with processing.org's reference page. It's right there, and it lets you do all this cool stuff, and I just learned through error and through experience. So for now, that's what I'm looking for. I also need a draw method, and a draw method tells the computer, hey, every time you call, it's like every time you refresh the screen, what do you want to do? Because you're going to do something 8 times a second. So for now, I'm going to leave it blank because I'm going to do something in a second with it. But what I am going to do is I'm going to make a class. So public class, and I'm going to pick on Raindrop. So I was trying to think of a really easy thing to draw shape-wise, and a raindrop is just a circle with a triangle on top, and they're kind of superimposed, which is why I took the boundaries off, because you don't want to see the edge of the triangle going through the middle of the circle. So for now, public class raindrop, and there's some things I need to know. So as a heads up, I don't have all the cute functionality of Eclipse. I don't have generate constructors. I don't have generate accessors and mutators, toStrings. It makes you do it by yourself. And in processing, I'm not going to declare everything private, although I can. For now, I'm just going to go int. I need to know where the raindrops are, so that's in X and Y. And I'll separate them by line, but I don't have to. I need an R value and a G value and a B value, but not really. Right, raindrops are all the same color, so I guess I'll take that out for now. I do need to know how big they are, because I might want to make some raindrops bigger than others. And like I said, I took away RGB because I want them all the same color no matter what. Although in theory, I can make like droplets of blood or something like that, you know, for Halloween. But for now, I need to know where the raindrops are. It's an X and a Y position, and I want to know how big to make the droplets. So drop size, I guess. So I'm also going to need a constructor. So that's a public raindrop. And just because I'm a good programmer, I'm going to put a default constructor in here, but I'm not going to call it today. But if I ever want to go back and use my raindrop constructor, I'm good. I have no idea where to put it because whatever, right? I want, like, what if I want 1,000 raindrops? And this kind of makes me put them all in the same spot. I could randomize it, which I've done before. I'm not going to. So for now, I guess I'll put it at like 200 and 100. And what that means is it counts in the left, upper left corner of the screen. It's 200 pixels over and 100 pixels down. So it's 200 to the right and 100 down. And it's weird for people to count right and down. We're used to counting right and up. But whatever, I mean, every single screen I can think of has an upper left corner, but sometimes it just scrolls down, scrolls down, scrolls down. That's why we don't use right and up. Just like every screen scrolls to the right sometimes, and that happens too. So I'm going to declare a drop size here of like 20, but whatever. Really, what I really want to do is I want to make a constructor that takes in some information. So I want to take in an X, and I want to take in a Y, and for now I don't want to take in a drop size, but I can, right? If I really wanted to, I could. And that's what the cool thing about constructors is you get to specify how you think the information should be taken in. So I want my X variable initialized, and I want my Y variable initialized, and drop size, I guess, right? Like for now I'll pick like 28 or something, and if I don't like it, I'll change it. And if I really wanted, I could do all this, and I could take in another integer, like ds for drop size, and that's cool too. So if I ever wanted to make raindrops with specific size in addition to specific location, I'd use the third constructor. If I ever wanted to make raindrops with just a certain position and they're all going to be the same size, second constructor. And if it's just a default raindrop, like whatever, I could use the first constructor. Heck, I might do that just to show people the difference, just so you understand that you can use the same constructor over and over and over, or you can use different constructors, right? We overloaded them. So what I'm not going to do is accessors and mutators. I can, but I don't need to ask the raindrop where it is or how big it is. I do want to give it a different method though. So I'm not going to get information back. I do want to declare a draw me method. So this is me asking the raindrop, hey, if I ever want to draw you, how should I do that? So I'm going to color it. And this is where I pick my RGB. So raindrops, in my opinion, are like light blue, which means, it's going to sound funny, but a whole lot of red and a whole lot of green and even more blue, right? It's a scale from 0 to 255. And now is when I get to declare the shapes. So I'm definitely going to make an ellipse. Processing doesn't have a circle command. It does have an ellipse command. And this is where it is. It's the first two arguments. So for me, it's X and Y, right? It knows about the X variables. We're inside the class. And I do want to care about drop size. And drop size again, because it's an ellipse. You care about where it is, you know, X and the Y, and you care about how wide it is and how tall it is. So far, so good. I also need the top of the raindrop, right? The triangular part. So triangle takes 6 arguments. The X and the Y of one corner, the X and the Y of another, the X and the Y of the other. So I got to be really careful here. I know where the center of the ellipse is, and I kind of got to do some math based on that one. So what I'm going to do is I care the radius of the circle, because that's where I want the edge of the triangle to be, and if I'm off by a little bit, whatever, we're going to find out. But I care about how big the drop size is divided by 2. So that's the left. I'm going to go for, like, if the triangle was like isosceles, and the base of the isosceles triangle is significantly smaller than the legs, that's kind of what I'm shooting for here. So I got to find out where that left-hand edge of the circle is, and it's that coordinate, right? X minus drop size divided by 2. Not in parentheses, just, you know, the drop size divided by 2 itself, then changing the X. I got to get the right-hand edge, so same deal, X plus drop size divided by 2, comma Y. And then I care about the vertex of that isosceles triangle. So that's the X part of the circle, right? That didn't change. I want them to be right in line together vertically. But I do have to change the Y, and that's Y minus something, because like I said, 0 for Y is at the top of the screen, so I got to reduce that. If I have Y plus drop size, it would look like an ice cream cone, which is cool, but not what I'm shooting for today. Ice cream. So I think my raindrop class is good to go. Now, I could be wrong. I feel like it's okay. And if I really want variables, I can't declare them in setup, because if you think about it, Java-wise, if I declare my variables, my raindrop variables in setup, this is like public static void main string args. If I put them inside here, it's like this. So that's legal. The problem with that is it's called localized scope, which means the variable only lives inside the setup method. If you make a brand new variable, if you declare a brand new variable inside a method or inside a function or inside a thing, it only lives from here to here. The second you step outside of setup, it has no idea what you're talking about. It's like, what raindrop? So instead, I got to move it up top. As long as it's outside of a function, I'm okay. And RD1, and I'm going to make more than just one. So RD2 and RD3 and RD4, that should be okay. So those are just temporary holders. It's kind of like int x, and they don't have a value yet. And if I ever tried to draw a raindrop, I'd have a big problem, right? Because I didn't initialize the variables, and it would be a null point exception. And I don't want to leave it like this, because this RD1 raindrop is actually different than this RD1 raindrop. This is like putting a hole in the memory. Hey, reserve me 4 spots for raindrops. And down here, scope kind of takes over, and it's like, oh, you live from here to here inside setup? Well, whatever this is, you're your own thing. But if I take this word out, it says, oh, RD1, I know what you're talking about. It's the one outside the method. And this isn't specific to processing. This is Java in general. This is more theory than what you need right now in class. But as a heads up, it's important to keep track of variable scope. Right now, the fact that this is outside a class, it's outside methods, it's kind of like its own thing. Usually we put it at the very, very, very top, the variables that make the whole thing run. But I moved them down to line 46. I'm okay. So I used the default constructor for 1. We all know where that's going to go. And I just realized something goofy, but we'll see it in a second. I'm going to use my constructor here, right? I want a drop size of 28. I don't know where to put it, so I guess I'll put it at like 100, 100 for that one. And RD3 equals new raindrop. Helpful if I could remember to capitalize an R. And this time I'm going to put it further to the right, so like 500. See, it's 600 by 400. So 500 by 246. I guess I don't care too much. And then RD4, I'm going to use that fully parameterized constructor. I'm going to use the one that has these 3 arguments. So x, y, and a drop size. New raindrop, x and a y. So how about, let's say 300. Let's put it just below the edge. And let's give it a droplet size. Let's make it like a really big raindrop. Let's say like 34 pixels. I was going to make it really tiny, but whatever. I realized what's really funny is I never actually asked the raindrop to fall. Right now, it's just going to sit there statically, unmoving. So that's cool, I guess. Every time I draw, I got to do something. I want to draw the raindrops. So if anything is going to happen here too, I'm going to mess up on purpose when I do this. So I'm going to ask raindrop 1 to draw me. I'm going to ask raindrop 2 to call its draw method also, right? Its draw me method. And these are all different for each one. Excuse me. So, hey, each raindrop, go call your draw me method. And each raindrop is like, okay, I'm good to go. I'm going to color it, this specific raindrop color. I'm going to draw an ellipse according to where I am and my drop size. And I am going to draw the triangle. And so far, so good. And there's 2 funny things that are going to happen. But first, let's just watch it crash and burn. So unexpected identifier, of course. Let's go back and check out code. So I've got void setup, void draw. Those are good. Public void draw me. And raindrop, 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 raindrop. Okay, I have no idea why it's got an unexpected identifier. But I'm checking my constructors to make sure everything's okay. So far, so good. I've got no stroke, frame rate, background, size, void setup, void draw. I would love to know what the unexpected identifier is. So I'm going to pull up code I wrote previously just in case it crashed. I'm sure it's something dumb on my part, but whatever. And I fixed one of the problems. So one of the problems in the original code I wrote was the raindrops didn't fall. Right? I never had that y plus equals 10. You can see the old code right here. Whenever I drew them, nothing happened. They just drew the shape. So that's a problem. And this time they fall, and if they ever hit the bottom of the screen, they go back to the top. Initially they would just fall and never come back, and that's a problem. I want them to warp. The other thing I had to do was put a background in. Otherwise they would leave trails. So if I really want to, let me show you what it looks like without that. This is what we had a second ago. Like that. And so they just sit there, and not very fun. But if I make them move, right, I'm not changing the background thing yet. They should leave trails, and they do. It looks like water running down your windshield, and they make funny bars. We never change the X value or anything like that. So if I repaint the background every time the draw method is called, so my background is a nice navy blue. The droplets fall, and when they hit the bottom of that screen right there, that's 400 pixels down, they warp back up to the top. So, just to kind of recapture stuff in general, I declared a class, I made variables. This time I actually made more than what I did in the previous example, but I made my constructors, that's cool. I have two. The first example I showed had three, but whatever, I could always put it in. I have a public void draw me, that's important. Right, and if I wanted, I could call other methods inside here, I just don't. I've got my raindrop variables, I've got a setup, and I've got a draw. Setup and draw are very important. Make sure you've got them, please. Make sure you've got your class declaration, public class, raindrop, whatever. You're not doing raindrop, you're doing a different one. So what I'm asking you to do on your time, and it's worth not a ton of points, but it's worth some, and they're bonus points. It's not an assignment, but what I need you to do is public class ball, capitalize the B, we're good programmers, and you need to make, it should have some X and Y coordinates, it needs some color, so it definitely needs an R and a G and a B, and you're going to need a size for it, because I want bouncy balls moving around the screen. So call it like rad for radius or something like that. Could be diameter, I don't know. We'll call it whatever. Rad because it's rad. So you need constructors. You may or may not need accessors. I don't know. That's your call, not mine. You definitely need a public void draw me method. I'm not sold on everything here, but public void draw me works, and that's how you draw the ball. That's cool. And you have to check for bouncing, because I want them to bounce off the edge, and you haven't learned ifs yet. So if you're not sure about ifs, you can ask. But understand, please, the gist of it is you have an if statement with parentheses, no semicolon after it, and any consequences of the if go in squiggle brackets that come after it. You saw me a second ago do the opposite of that. I've got this line of code right here. That's because I have a single solitary consequence, and if you have a single solitary consequence, you don't need brackets, but it's good programming practice to put in. So I could have had that on the line below and been slightly better as a programmer, but for now it's okay, right? Like, what if the ball gets too far to the right edge of the screen? It should bounce. What happens if the ball gets to the bottom of the screen, or the top, or the left? Bounce, bounce, bounce. So that's the ball class stuff. It ends right, let's see, the draw me method, ifs. So draw me ends right there. Then after that you need a public, you don't need a public void setup, you need a void setup. And that's where you need like background color. So background, and then name it with an RGB, like 3 arguments. And you need a size, and it takes 2 arguments. And frame rate. And that takes a single argument, because that's how often it refreshes the screen. Don't forget, you're going to need several ball objects as variables. So let's say B1, B2, B3, B4, B5. You need at least 5 bouncy balls. And then you need a draw method. So void draw. I hope you can spell better than me. Goodness gracious me, not enough caffeine. So, and that's where you would paint the background every time, right? Whatever background color you picked, and you would call each ball's draw me method, you know, the defraw method. That way you can ask it to draw itself. So again, not a super conceptual lab for today. It's not deep theory. It's not going to be an AP exam. I just thought graphics are a cool way to visualize objects and classes. So, and it gets you a little bit of practice with constructors and variables and class methods, which you haven't really done yet. And maybe you do if statements in here to make sure that it works correctly. And it also kind of divorces people from the idea that Java is Eclipse and Eclipse is Java. So as soon as you start drawing bouncy balls, you can start drawing other things. You know, that's always cool too. So, you know, you can always move to, what do I have that's fun? Like balloons. You know, that's like circles with a line underneath. That seems like fun. And then when we get a whole lot of fun, you know, there's like Christmas trees and flowers and fractal triangles and mice and warring anthills. But that kind of follows from there. So I hope everything's going well. Let me know if you need help with something. It's due relatively soon, but you can always stay after and ask. I'm not going to handle this in class unless all your labs are done, because I don't want to take time out of actual class to work on extra credit stuff. It's not worth a ton of extra credit, but it's definitely worth a while to learn something fun. Thanks. See this assignment coming through on Google Drive soon. I'll put a link to this there just so you guys have a spot to turn it in. And Harbinger out!